So, have you guys ever been to I Dream in Soap's website? I was there a couple weeks before Christmas and because I wanted to pick up like a big extruder, right? And she had all of her little plates for all of the cool creations that she makes there and available for purchase as well, like making a fireplace within a hearth and all the things. Or fire, you get it. Or the cats and the dog, all of they all stack together. Amazing, right? And it got me thinking, I should probably reach out to her and see if she can make me a custom extruder plate kit set thing, right? But this was 2 weeks before Christmas, and I did not want to do it at that point because everybody is like crazy busy during that time period. And so custom orders sort of out of the question, right? Here's also the thing though. The soap that we are making today definitely would have been better served if I had done it with an extruder. I did not do so, though. I did not have time to even message Lisa and ask her if she could do, because it needed to be done right now. And I just did it, my way. And it was a weird way. But I'm definitely going to be reaching out to Lisa very, very soon to see if she can do some custom extruder plates for me because I have some really intricate designs coming up and I think I'm going to need her help and her expertise with. So I will be doing that soon. Again, did not do that for this. I will tell you more about what this is in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And you are here for day 218 of 365 days of soap. And today we're doing Derek Shepherd's bar, McDreamy. And even though I said I did not want to do this several weeks ago when we were deciding what the themes would be, I ultimately decided that McDreamy needs a ferry boat in his soap. That's why Lisa would have been really, really helpful in this. Because I bet I'm pretty sure she must make them, right? She sells the plates. She must cut and make. This is my thinking. And I didn't. And so I just made it with a series of melt and pour in different ways. And it was a thing. It was a challenge. So let's get to that thing and that challenge, now. And we can talk about McDreamy and how really mad I am about him and his part in the show. And as I've said in multiple videos of these Grey's things before, there might be spoilers. So if you have an inkling that you're going to watch Grey's Anatomy all 900 million seasons at some point, click off now because there's probably going to be spoilers. That's your warning. That's the only one you're going to get. Probably, maybe, I don't know. Probably might say it again while we're pouring the soap, but for sure, probably spoilers because I have opinions on McDreamy. So let's go to the video and we can talk about them. Okay, so Derek Shepherd. Sorry for just popping the mic there. It happens. Being scented with Dolce & Gabbana light blue, and there's my little drawing on a reputation bar from the T-Swizzle line about how to make a ferry boat. And again, I should have just reached out to Lisa but I didn't have time for that guy. There was no time. She's in the UK. I have no idea what shipping from the UK to the US is these days. And so I'm making the ferry boat out of melt and pour because Derek Shepherd is super into ferry boats. And I really did rail against the idea of putting a ferry boat into his soap. And then ultimately decided it kind of has to be a ferry boat. I mean, Meredith, after he... Okay, spoilers. Spoilers are going to be in this entire thing, okay? Click off. I'll give you a couple seconds. Okay. Meredith, after he died, continued to wear his ferry boat scrub cap. And that's what it was. It was a ferry boat. A bunch of them on his scrub cap. And so it had to be a ferry boat. He's got a thing about ferry boats. So there's that. And also, there are a ton of ferry boats in the Pacific Northwest. And also, I've always wondered, what island do you think he lives on that he was commuting via ferry boat to Seattle every day? Because he's got land, right? And looking at a map of, well, where I live, and actually I'll put one up for people who don't know, and don't get this. I live on a place where the best way to commute to Seattle, I live in a place where the best way to commute to Seattle is via ferry boat. And it's not actually the best way. But he's got land, right? I also have land. But again, it's still not the best way, because in order for us to get to the ferry boat, it takes like 45 minutes of driving. And then I don't know if you guys have ever experienced the ferry boat transportation in the Pacific Northwest, but it's not good. Especially if you need a car on the other side, you're in that line for like 3 hours during peak times of needing to go and, be in Seattle and work there things. And so him just kind of nonchalantly existing on the ferry boats was always very confusing to me. Okay, so back to the ferry boat conversation and where his land could possibly be. Okay, look at this. So we've got Bainbridge Island and Vashon Island, which are the likely culprits. And Bainbridge Island is kind of meh, I guess, but Vashon, super fancy, and so that makes more sense. He probably lives on Vashon, but also maybe he lives on Bainbridge. But then you see me down there, Gig Herb, and it looks like the ferry also goes directly to Seattle from Gig Harbor, but it doesn't. It goes to Vashon, and then you have to get on a ferry from Vashon to Seattle. And so it's a big thing. It's a whole mess. That ferry system is not nearly as cool as one might think it is. I promise. And so I've always wondered, does he live on Bainbridge or Vashon? And my money is he lives on Vashon, because that's closer to downtown when you get off, I think, than Bainbridge. And I think Vashon is also cooler than and has better land than Bainbridge. No hate for anybody who lives in Bainbridge, but it's a nice place too. Where do you think Derek Shepherd lives based on this map? I have questions. He definitely doesn't live in Gig Harbor, though. That's for sure. Also, to be super crystal clear with all of that, we don't actually have a way to get to the ferry from Gig Harbor proper. We have to go to Tacoma, which is across a toll bridge, or way up to Bremerton. So definitely not Gig Harbor. He definitely doesn't live there. So it's Vashon or Bainbridge. That's all that makes sense. I'm really just continuing to talk about the ferry system and how I have questions, mostly because I don't want to start talking about Derek Shepherd. So instead of talking about Derek Shepherd, let's talk about the scent I put into this. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Citrus combined with a base of musky and woody notes. And it's definitely citrusy. For sure. I actually picked this up in the regular cologne form for Mr. Soap and Clay for Christmas, just because we used this for the Grays, soaps, and he didn't have that guy. And it's really very citrusy, for sure. And it definitely has some oceanic notes in it. So it's good. I think it definitely nails Derek Shepherd for sure. And that's all that I can say about the scent, because it's not doing anything weird to the batter. The worst thing that I've had going on with this pour was I did not thicken up the batter on the bottom like enough to allow me to just start building with the melt and pour for all these pieces of the ferry boat, really. And that was the only problem. And as a result, all of the rest of the batter got kind of thickish while I was waiting for the batter that I'd already poured into the mold to firm up so I could put a reasonably heavy, and by reasonably heavy, I mean that first embed weighed about 3 ounces, into the soap so I could continue building. So soaping notes on this guy, I don't know them, but my soaping notes are, works great. Has a trace time that you would expect and no ricing, no acceleration. Seriously, no acceleration. There was none. There was some very fluid batter that I put in at the very beginning of all of this. Okay, so I'm building a ferry boat. I don't want to talk about Derek Shepherd, but I feel like I've already gotten everything mostly out of the way. So we're going to talk about Derek Shepherd. Okay, McDreamy. Yeah, no, he's Patrick Dempsey. He's good looking. He's incredibly good looking. He is one of the best neurosurgeons in the literal world. Not Patrick Dempsey. McDreamy. Derek Shepherd. And the entire series starts out with him having a one-night stand with Meredith Grey, and then we get to watch them. Are they gonna? Are they not gonna? Just like the Ross and Rachel thing. It's very annoying. For several seasons before they finally just gonna. Right? And then they get married with a post-it. I think the same episode that George met his miserable, awful, terrible fate. Like, again, why did he have to go out that way? And it was sad. But like they got married in a post-it, and that was cool. And Derek Shepherd, really smart, really kind of down to earth, really normal, stable guy, right? Which is exactly what Meredith Grey probably needs in her life, some stability. I think that's something that you could definitely argue for sure. And then he goes on to continue being an awesome neurosurgeon and do really amazing things. He had this one patient named Isaac, pretty sure. And I think it all had to do with the post-it note thing. That was all at the same time. Anyway, this guy had a tumor that was wrapped around his spine in such a way that like every neurosurgeon like in the world would not touch it, right? And Derek's like, okay, I'm going to do the thing. And he tried one time and he got scared. And so he sewed Isaac back up and woke him up and was like, yeah, I couldn't do it. And Isaac's like, no, you totally can. Because if you don't, I'm going to die. And so what do I have to lose? And so then he went back in and did his whole, it's a beautiful day to save lives, which was his thing. He would say that right before surgery every time. It was a thing. And he did not kill Isaac. I'm pretty sure Isaac survived. But a lot of people also died on his table because, well, he did a lot of really, really high-risk surgeries. And he also had a sister named Amelia, who was also amazing, also a neurosurgeon, and was always competing with Big Brother to be like the best and most ballsy neurosurgeon, right? It's all in all just a really wholesome family dynamic. I can get with that. Okay, so wholesome family fun. He goes on to have kids with Meredith. They adopt a kid. Meredith steals the kid at some point. It's a big dramatic thing. Like, oh my God, why is she still breathing in and out and not in handcuffs? I will never understand how she escapes all the things that she's done. Anyway, he's with her through it all. He is her ride or die, no matter what. He is there. And then, okay, this is where the real big spoilers come in. Shonda Rhimes decides to kill him in a car accident. And like his death was the worst ever because it sort of gave it from his point of view, right? Where he's in his brain, like he's aware that it's happening, but he's unable to speak. And he's dealing with a lesser hospital because they weren't able to get him to Seattle Grace Mercy Death. And, that's a cute ferry boat. That works. Sure, ship it. I think that works. And he's doing the voiceover with all of it and saying, no, you should check this. And they didn't check it. And he ended up dying. And it was really heartbreaking the way that they did it. And then, Meredith comes in and like looked at his file, because again, it's a different hospital. And she's like, you didn't do this and you should have done so. My husband is dead because of you, whatever. And then she pieces out for like a while, like real time, or I guess showtime. Like essentially a couple years go by where she's just pieced out, but they did that in the entirety of like 2 or 3 episodes, where she's just pieced out and gone and nobody can get a hold of her. Like she just vanished with her 3 children. Nobody called the cops. You call the cops when a person just goes missing. Whatever. And the whole thing was just really so poorly done. Derek Shepherd, McDreamy, this really talented, very kind, very loving, very much cares about his patients, neurosurgeon guy, was given such an unceremonious send-off to a show that he had spent, I think that was like season like 12, maybe 14. He spent a lot of years doing the thing. And that's how he went out. And we got to listen to his inner dialogue as he was dying on a table from something neurological. The silence is not because your video stopped playing and you're buffering. It's because it was just that bad. Why would you do that? And I don't actually know the reason as to exactly why that happened. I have read a couple things online. I guess Patrick Dempsey was going through his own stuff with I don't know. He was going through his own things, and either he made the decision to leave or Shonda decided to give him the boot. I don't know. But McDreamy getting sent off in such a harsh way was, especially considering the number of doctors that worked at Seattle Grace that had been saved, like against all odds. Like Meredith at some point was legally dead for hours, and yet magically she manages to make a full recovery, and her brain is completely fine after being legally dead for hours. And this guy, just because he didn't get to Seattle Grace Mercy Death, there's no way. He's just dead. It was pretty heartbreaking. Like that was a terrible, and also the reason why he got in a car accident is because he stopped to help out like somebody else that was injured and needed assistance on the side of the road. And he had done so and fixed them, and then he gets T-boned by a truck. It's terrible. I'm really sorry if you guys have not watched Grey's Anatomy and I just spoiled it, but I have been heartbroken since this happened. And honestly, I'm not really ever going to be the same, because I felt like that was a really messed up way to send out Derek Shepherd. But, he got sent out that way. And then we got his sister as a series regular, and she's cool. So I can get behind Amelia, but again, that was a really, really sad ending to McDreamy. This is a downer video. And there they are, Derek's bars. And all things considered, yeah, no, they're super cute. They totally work. It's ferry boat-ish. It's my version of a ferry boat. It's not nearly as beautiful as I Dream in Soap's, stuff. But again, I had no extruder. So there's that. But I like them. I think they're really fun. And just a lot, and that's awesome. So I think it totally works. A little chaotic ferry boat kind of works for Derek's little chaotic life. Yeah. Now, we wanted to do a number of different things with this. The Soapprentice wanted to do sort of like neurons firing, and I didn't know how to make that in soap form, and the drawing that she gave me was just something that couldn't translate into soap, really. And so we went with this instead, and I think it's great. If you are interested in the Derek bar, you can't get it yet. We are not done with the series. Once we are, everything will be online at soapandclay.com. Currently, I don't think anything is at soapandclay.com. We are working on reformatting the website, and when that's done and I'm done with my break, we will put everything back online and you can shop then. But for the Grays series, you can't shop it until the entire series is wrapped and you guys have seen it all in video form. So there's that. If you were interested in seeing what else we do for the rest of the series, subscribe. Cool. For those of you who have subscribed, hey, Sudzers, you're cool. Thank you. I appreciate you oh so very much. And again, I definitely will be reaching out to Lisa from I Dream in Soap to make some custom extruders for some very complicated soap designs that I have coming up for some sort of like fan soap for other YouTubers / Twitch streamers. So if I forget, make sure to remind me because I need to reach out to her and see if that's something that she even does. But I am out of here for today. Thank you again for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap. I'll see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.